Here's the uncomfortable truth. Your RAG system can sound smart and still fail because the search query was too small.
Exactly. In retrieval-augmented generation, a lot of bad answers start before the model writes a single word.
So, today's villain is not hallucination. It's the query?
Often, yes. Query expansion means taking the user's original question and generating related versions, synonyms, clarifications, or subqueries, so the retriever has more chances to find the right documents.
That sounds almost too simple. Why does it matter so much?
Because users rarely phrase things the way your corpus does. If your docs say authorization, and the user asks about permissions, a single literal query can miss the best pages.
Give me a concrete case.
Say a developer asks, how do I stop expired JWTs from being accepted? Your docs might talk about token validation, signature verification, clock skew, refresh flow, and session expiry. Query expansion can probe all of those angles instead of betting on the exact phrase expired JWTs.
So, the first win is recall. More relevant chunks get a chance to enter the pool.
Right. Expansion broadens the net. In RAG, low recall is deadly because the generator cannot cite or reason over text it never saw.
And this is where teams lose quietly, right? The answer looks polished, but the right source never made it into context.
That's the danger. A narrow query creates false confidence. The model sounds decisive, but it's deciding from an incomplete evidence set.
Okay, but if broader is better, why not always explode the query into 10 variants and call it a day?
Because expansion can absolutely make results worse. More recall can come with less precision. You retrieve more documents, but some are off-topic, and those distract re-rankers and waste context budget.
So query expansion can help you find the needle, but also dump hay into the prompt.
Perfect way to put it. Imagine a support corpus with docs on Python threads, forum threads, and Slack threads. Expand thread too aggressively, and your user asking about concurrency gets buried under community content.
That's not a small mistake. That changes who wins. The relevant docs lose to louder but less relevant matches.
Yes, and in production that shows up as unstable behavior. The same user intent works one day and fails the next, because a slightly different expansion path changed the retrieve set.
So how should builders think about expansion without turning retrieval into chaos?
Use it as a targeted tool, not a blind multiplier. Good expansion usually does one of three things: adds synonyms, disambiguates meaning, or decomposes a broad ask into smaller retrieval intents.
Break those down.
Synonyms are the obvious one: auth versus authentication, bug versus defect, latency versus response time. Disambiguation means resolving overloaded terms from context. Decomposition means turning one big question into parts, like setup, constraints, and failure modes.
Give me a practical example with decomposition.
A user asks, why is our invoice export timing out after we move to async workers? One query is messy. Expanded subqueries might target export job timeout settings, worker queue concurrency, database pagination and exports, and retry behavior. Those retrieve different slices of the truth.
That feels more strategic than just adding synonyms. You are mapping the problem surface.
Exactly. And that's often where expansion creates the biggest jump in recall, especially for technical troubleshooting questions with multiple hidden causes.
But we still need guardrails. What are the practical ones?
First, cap the number of expansions. Second, keep them close to the original intent. Third, re-rank aggressively across all retrieved candidates. Fourth, measure recall and answer quality on a real eval set, because expansion that helps policy questions may hurt API lookups.
So this is not a universal switch. It is a trade-off you tune by domain.
Yes, in narrow, well-labeled corpora, expansion may do little. In messy enterprise docs, multilingual content, or jargon-heavy systems, it can be the difference between finding the right page and confidently missing it.
And if you skip it entirely?
Then you're assuming users speak your corpus's language perfectly. They don't. Query expansion is how a RAG system stops searching literally and starts searching intelligently.
That's the real shift, isn't it? Not bigger models, better evidence.
Exactly. In RAG, the smartest answer usually comes from the team that learned how to ask for the right documents before asking for the right words.